Everybody seems to have loved Andrew Garfield's return in Spider-Man No Way Home. Sony decided to do a little experiment by re-releasing all the Spider-Man films in theaters. And, well, The Amazing Spider-Man pulled in substantially less than people anticipated, people predicted, and specifically the Amazing Spider-Man very vocal fan base that said that the film would perform well to lead to The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Right now, with studios only betting on surefire hits, the only thing that talks is money. If there is money to be made, they will continue to produce it. This isn't a foreign concept to anybody in any industry because that's literally how it works, right? So, with The Amazing Spider-Man 1 doing bad and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 doing worse in re-releases, I think it's pretty evident that if the fans that are so vocal online didn't show up, and Sony has to have taken notice, I think it's pretty safe to say that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is a waste of time for not just the fans that want it to happen and wasting their energy on it, but also for Sony, everybody involved that could potentially throw their resources into it, but also Andrew Garfield. And trust me, as much as I would love to see Andrew Garfield back and some sort of conclusion to that story, the evidence is here, right? Like, we can all look at the actual data in regards to everything that we've ever known about the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, and I'm not sure if the action figure and merchandise sales were ever made available, so I'm not going to talk about what those numbers are just to cover myself and the people that gave it to me. But the data is all there, and if I can see it, like all of it, and if you guys can see a part of it, there's no denying that there's no place for the Amazing Spider-Man to exist. Now, when you compare it to what the Raimi trilogy did on re-release, which ended up making substantially more, like what, almost 1 times more, like, maybe 1.5 times more, it's pretty evident that if you were Sony and you were just told to sit down and look at the numbers and say, well, we need to greenlight one of our own Spider-Man films that's not shared with Marvel Studios and Disney, if you lay both of these franchises out, which one do you realistically look at, and which one will the investors point at? That thing that made us have to share profits with Disney and almost tanked our studio that we re-released and is the lowest earning of the re-releases, or the thing that actually built our studio and single-handedly carried superheroes into the modern age. I mean, fanboy glasses on, I know which one you're going to vote for, depending on what side you lean on, but investor and pocketbook, I know exactly where you're going. And you're not betting on The Amazing Spider-Man 3. I'm sorry.